Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you would have seen by the title of this video, this is my New York vlog, which I'm so excited to share with you all. I just thought I'd quickly insert a clip here because there isn't actually an intro in the video. So just to break this video down a little bit for you, I have included full itineraries each day at the beginning of the day, just because I believe the reason why we was able to do so much while we was there was due to good planning. And obviously there's so much to do in Manhattan and everything's in different locations. So if you first decide what's important to you and what you want to do, and then group it by the area and sort of fill an itinerary each day with what's in that area, that was kind of the formula that we used. But I just thought if I shared, I've already done that work essentially. So if I share it with you on what I've done, anyone that's looking to go can use this itinerary, adapt this itinerary, and it just be useful for you guys to have that information as well. I have also included prices for everything that we spent. Again, I just think it's really useful for you to have as much information as possible if you're looking at planning a trip. It also wasn't as expensive as I anticipated it to be, which I think is a big block for a lot of people of why they don't book it or why they don't go. So for you guys just to see that, I just think it'd be really helpful. Anytime that I spend money, you will hear this sound and you will get a little pop-up on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, just informing you on what I've actually spent and the amount. I have also included any relevant information or travel tips that I think would be useful for you to know if you're looking at going or planning a trip. Again, you will hear this sound anytime that there is a tip. I honestly had the absolute best time. It was such a bizarre experience because of everything that I watch is set in New York. Pretty much like 99% of what I watch is in New York and has been for the last, I don't know, my whole life really. I mean, at least the last 6-7 years. Like I watched Gossip Girl, Suits, everything like that. But then obviously growing up I watched like Madagascar, and there's a scene in Grand Central. Growing up I watched Elf, as I'm sure loads of you did. So there's just so much that's obviously set in New York, as you're probably aware. So it was just such a crazy experience to see them things for myself and in person. And I just kept getting like references to films in my head. I do hope that you guys enjoy this video, and I really hope that all the information I have included is useful. So I will stop chatting and let's just get into the video. Hi guys, so it's currently 8 AM. I did set an alarm for 7 AM, but I woke up about 6 because I was just literally wide awake. I think obviously I was really excited. So I've just been up, sorted out a few little bits, had a shower, washed my hair. I now need to pack the rest of my stuff for my hand luggage because it's got my chargers, my laptop, things like that I've been using yesterday. So I need to pack all my last minute bits, cook myself breakfast, get dressed, and then we're ready to go. We're aiming to leave for 10 AM. I have my outfit laid out, ready to go. So I am wearing this jumper top. So basically it looks like a jumper over a shirt, but there's not actually a shirt, it's just a jumper. They've just sewn this material on the end, and on the top here I've got my black MAC coat, and then I'm gonna be wearing these boots, and then I've just got my gloves and my scarf here as well. So I'm just packing up my hand luggage. So I've got my little travel pack here, which has got passports in. This is our e-ticket. We've got our visas in here, because obviously you have to do what's called an ESTA for America. So we've got our visas behind here. And then I've also printed out our Empire State Building tickets as well. So it's our little travel pack there. I also do have our boarding passes on my phone, because I think like this is so handy just to be able to scan like when you're at the thing. But I don't like relying on this and not having a hard copy, because if my phone just played up, I would be so irritated if I couldn't get on my flight just because of my phone playing up, which it sometimes does. Sometimes it goes to a black screen and just gives me this little rotation circle as if it's loading, but it's not. So it does cut out sometimes and act a bit funny. So I feel like it's always good to have a hard copy, which is why I like doing my travel pack. And then I've already got my laptop in this back bit here. And then I've got my headphones, like my overhead, my big headphones in there as well. I've got an umbrella because this is actually for the other side. I'm putting this umbrella in my little clutch bag, but I just thought I'll stick it in my hand luggage for now. And then I've got hairbands in this side as well. And then in the front I've got my Diary of a CEO book that I'm trying to finish this month. I've got like little bits, so I'm just using that as a little purse, because again, when I get to the other side, I'm just going to use the zip in my clutch bag as my purse. So I'm just going to use that while I'm at the airport. And then I've got my eye mask in case I want to sleep on the plane, and obviously I'm going to want that the other side as well. And then just little bits like hand gel and usual little handbaggy bits. And then here I've got anything and everything electronic. So like down here, this is my portable charger, which I charged last night. It doesn't want to focus on my charger. There we go. But it's got 100%, so that can charge my phone like 3 times. And then I've got all my other wires. So there's my laptop charger, my phone charger's in there. I've got chargers for my camera and my headphones as well. I've got 3 plugs in there, so that's all my electronics, which I will put in this part of my bag as well at the back. So I think that's everything. I'm just gonna go, so this screen is all for travel. So on here, I have my travel planners and my to-do, my budget. This New York folder is just a shortcut to a Google Drive that has all of my documents on. So I have an electronic copy and a hard copy as well. And then my budget sheet, I have like a budget for activities every day. So this side's activities and then that side's food, and then it's broken into days, just so I can keep track of like what I'm spending. I created this when I went to France, and it was the best thing ever. Like I did everything I wanted to when I come back with money, just because I was aware of what I was spending, how much I had no anxiety, because I was like, it's fine, I've still got this much today, or I just knew where I was at, and I would really recommend doing something like this. And then if I go to my travel planners, I'm just going to go to my packing list. So most of the stuff is packed. I just need to tick like the last little bit. So all of this stuff I couldn't pack because obviously I was using it all. So I'm just going to go through and make sure I've got everything else that I need. Touchdown in New York. I literally cannot believe it. I think the US customs sign just made it feel so surreal. When we arrived, we headed straight to our hotel, which was located on 9th and 40th. We then headed straight out to Times Square, which was located on 7th and 43rd. Good morning. I thought I'd do a little outfit check this morning. Everything is tagged on the screen, and I also was wearing my coat, which you saw yesterday. Of course, first things first is coffee, and as you can see from this map, we actually had a Starbucks at the end of our road on the corner, which was so handy, so we stopped there first. This was located right next to the New York Times building. We walked down to 40th and 6th, then made a left and walked all the way up 6th to the entrance of the park by the plaza. We then walked into the park and honestly, it was so stunning. There was a man playing music here as well, which was so sweet. And these carts were literally everywhere. And I know obviously New York is famous for this, but I cannot believe how many of them there actually was. We then walked down towards this pond and honestly every time I took another couple of steps I couldn't believe how stunning it was. There were some people filming down here as well. We then walked out of the park onto the Upper East Side, walked all the way up 5th towards the Met. We saw this amazing old-fashioned taxi outside the Met, how cool. Here it is, and honestly I just kept getting all these flashes into my head of Gossip Girl scenes. As you see in the itinerary for this day, I was highly unwell so I had to go back to the hotel for a nap. After my nap we headed to the Empire State Building. We walked down 40th Street and made a right onto 6th, all the way down 6th and made a left onto 34th Street. As we was walking around, they had loads of information and cool photos of the Empire State. They had this really cool exhibition from the 1920s of when it's starting to get built, how long it took to get built. There's obviously stages, by the years, there was so much information. This part was the coolest in my opinion. They had a video of this being built and it was so realistic. The clothing, the lack of safety, and the culture and the language. In this part of the video, it becomes even more realistic and lifelike. You can see how they are overlooking Central Park, exactly how you would from the top of the Empire State. We then walked through this room, which was displaying all of the famous films and shows that the Empire State Building has been included in. This part was really creative. They had a screen which made it appear like King Kong was looking into the building and then they had his hands inside. They also had a section which showed all the celebrities that have been here. This display was on the roof of the elevator. And this was the stunning view. Honestly, I could have sat up here all day. It was so breathtaking. I really wanted to do this at sunset and it literally turned out exactly how I wanted it to. I'm so grateful. For reference, obviously we went in November and we booked it for 4:30. We then went to Bryant Park, so we headed back onto 6th Avenue and made a right onto 40th. We stopped in a few souvenir shops on the way. And here we are, we're walking into the park. It was literally beautiful. There was so many nice restaurants. Obviously we went for the Christmas markets, which were stunning as well. There was so many, it just seemed to go on and on. It honestly felt so Christmassy. There were so many lights, it was just beautiful. There was loads of different places to eat. There was 2 or 3 restaurants within the park, but then there was also like these little stands that were doing food as well. We then headed over to the ice rink and we just had a little watch of everyone skating around. Good morning, so it's now the following day. I just thought I'd do a really quick fit check again. I've tagged the things on the screen that haven't already been tagged. Of course, we had to get a Starbucks. My go-to order is an iced latte. We then went to this amazing bagel place called Bagel Market. I could not recommend this enough. Honestly, the food was so good, the price was good, and also the staff was so friendly and lovely. This is located opposite the Starbucks. We then headed to Macys. We come out of Bagel Market and walked down to 7th. We turned right onto 7th and walked all the way down to 34th Street, and we entered on the corner of 34th Street. No amount of words or footage will ever be able to explain how large this store is. I know it's the world's largest store, but you cannot comprehend it until you're actually there. It's crazy. As we was walking around, I could not help but think about Elf. Obviously, the time of year played a big part in that because everything was decorated for Christmas. And obviously, if you've watched the film, you'll know he decorates the store for Christmas. So it just kept giving me flashes of the film. Little fun fact, Macys was actually founded in 1858. They also had these really old-fashioned escalators, which I just thought was really unique and cool that they've kept these. They have also instilled some new modern ones. Fun fact, this building was actually built in 1902. They also had this really cute little cafe. There was a variety of places to eat throughout. And of course, this just reminded me of Friends. To make an attempt to explain how big this is, this whole section here is Macys. It takes up the whole length of 34th Street between 6th and 7th. I did try and get some footage as well so you guys could see. It's literally this whole building and it goes all the way down. And you've got to remember, this is just the length as well. This is not even taking into context the width. I am such a sucker for the Christmas. This makes me so happy. We then stopped for lunch, so we headed out of Macys on the corner of 34th and 7th. We walked down a couple of steps and there was this amazing salad bar. They had these pre-made salads, they had fruit pots, they had so much choice, we literally took forever to decide. They also had this open salad so you could make your own. They also had these sandwiches that were pre-made. I mean, everything literally looked so good. And of course there has to be a bagel option in New York, right? They had all of these different protein options as well. We landed on making our own salad in the end. We also did some shopping around Macys, so there was a H&M here, a Steve Madden here, a Zara here, and various other shops around as well. We then headed from 34th Street up to Bloomingdales. To do this, we took the W train from 34th Street all the way to Lexington Avenue 59th Street. It was actually such a vibe down here. Like, they had a full band, not just someone busking. It was very extra, but I was so here for it. And it created such a good atmosphere. There was people dancing around. I really personally enjoyed it. In terms of safety, we felt so safe. As soon as we walked down, there was police officers.
We're eastbound and W train, next stop, now 59th Street.
This door was so heavy. This is us entering at Bloomingdales. It was very, very similar to Macys. It just gave a little bit more of a luxurious and modern feel to it. Seeing the school buses was so cool. It never got old. Also, these coaches remind me of the episode in Gossip Girl when they go to the Hamptons and Dan and Serena are trying to avoid each other, but they bump into each other on the bus. We then walked down 59th Street and turned left onto 5th Avenue, and this is where Tiffany's was located. Unfortunately, I was told very promptly that I'm not allowed to film in here, but I was allowed to take photos, so I'm going to insert them. How stunning is this staircase and statue? The whole place just felt magical from the second that you walked in. Speechless. Literally. But this part was the star of the show. They had an Audrey Hepburn exhibition and they had all the staff from Breakfast at Tiffany's. The famous iconic scene that was filmed outside this store was playing on loop. And yes, they had the dress. I couldn't believe it. And this is the dress that she actually wore in the film. And they had a home section which was stunning. We then headed for dinner, so we come out of Tiffany's, walked down 57th Street and headed into Angelo's. This pizza was beautiful. We then left Angelo's and headed back down to Times Square. To do this, we took the Q train from 57th Street, 7th Avenue, all the way down to Times Square, 42nd Street. Good morning. Obviously got to start the day with a fit check. So everything is linked again that hasn't already been linked. I was wearing this jumper dress, I wore my coat as usual and the same boots that I travelled in. The reason why we planned the itinerary this way is because Greenwich is on the way to the financial district. I like to plan trips efficiently, so I don't like to go back on myself and I like to do everything that's in the same area together. First things first, breakfast and coffee. We actually got coffee from Bagel Market today and it was absolutely lovely. I'd really recommend this and it is way cheaper than Starbucks. We then headed down to Greenwich, which had NYU, Washington Square Park and the Friends building. To do this, we grabbed the number 1 towards South Ferry. We got on at Times Square 42nd Street and we got off at Christopher St Sheridan Square. We then come out of the station, walked down 7th and turned down to Grove Street. We walked all the way down until we reached the corner of Bedford and Grove. The buildings were stunning here, with the walk up to the house, the fire escapes, all of the iron. It felt so New York. And here is the building. It was so surreal seeing this in person. Of course, quick coffee stop. We went back down Grove towards 7th. We turned onto Washington Street all the way to the park. We did Washington Square Park and NYU. Here we are walking around by the NYU campus. It was so strange because it's not a closed campus, it's just open buildings by the park. So we didn't even realise we was walking around the buildings for a minute until we saw the signs. We just expected with some gates and us to walk onto the campus, if that's clear. But here we are now walking through the park, which was stunning. They had these really cool tables that had built-in chessboards on. I literally could have stood here and listened to these guys forever. This park was stunning. There was also people filming again down here. On the way back to the subway, I see one of the little newsstands and I had to grab myself these. We then went from Greenwich down to the financial district. To do this, we took the number 1 from Christopher St Sheridan Square to Rectory Street. We then come out of the station and went down Rectory Street. We went right onto Greenwich Street, all the way down to the 911. We then headed towards Wall Street. We walked down Cortlandt Street and stopped at Century 21 on the way. We stopped at McDonald's for lunch and continued down Broadway all the way to Wall Street. We was then located at the other end of Wall Street, so we walked down William Street all the way to Water Street and we come into Whitehall Terminal. We then picked up the Staten Island ferry from Whitechapel into St George, and as you can see here, this passes the Statue of Liberty on its route. We then got the return ferry from Staten Island back into Manhattan, so we just walked back round and got the return. By the time we got the return, the sun had fully set, so it was a complete night time and the skyline and the views were absolutely breathtaking. We then left the financial district and went all the way up to Soho for dinner. To do this, we took the number 1 from South Ferry to Canal Street. We stopped in this really cute Italian for dinner. We ended up sharing dishes, so we got a spaghetti bolognese and a pizza. I would really recommend this place. The food was so good, that might even be the best spag bowl I've ever had. And then when I come inside, because we ate outside, I come in to go to the toilet and I see this full jazz band, and honestly it was so wholesome and the best atmosphere. We then went from Soho back up towards our hotel. To do this, we took the number 1 from Houston Street to Times Square 42nd Street. When we got back to our hotel, we then went on to our rooftop bar. So there was this bar upstairs on the top floor, and then you could come outside and it was the most scenic and stunning views, as you can imagine. Like, oh my god, wow. I could have honestly stood here all day staring at these views. After breakfast, we headed straight down to go across the Brooklyn Bridge. To do this, we took the number 2 from Times Square 42nd Street all the way down to Fulton Street. We went down and off the bridge here and then went straight up Washington Street. Washington Street is where you'll find this amazing view of the Manhattan Bridge, which is really famous. We then walked down Water Street and we went into the Time Out Market. We also went onto their amazing rooftop. I'd really recommend this. We then went back down Water Street and turned onto Washington Street, and we stopped down here for lunch. We then headed from Dumbo Brooklyn to Soho. To do this, we took the F train from York Street to Broadway Lafayette Street. We then headed from Soho to the Upper West Side. To do this, we took the B train from Broadway Lafayette Street to 72nd Street. We first headed to New Balance, we then went to Lincoln Center, and then we lastly went to the Empire Hotel. All of the locations are on the screen for your reference. We then headed from the Upper West Side home. To do this, we took the number 2 from 72nd Street to Times Square 42nd Street. Good morning. Now checkout is done. We've headed to Bagel Market. We then headed to Dunkin because I really wanted to try one, and there was literally one a couple doors up from Bagel Market. I wanted specifically to try the iced coffee. Got a donut each and I got an iced coffee, but I can't lie, don't rate it at all. It was so sweet, I literally ended up throwing it away and getting another coffee. We then walked to the end of 40th and we turned on to 7th. We walked all the way down to Macys. However, we didn't realise Macys didn't open until 10 AM and we was currently there at 9:30. So we started walking down 34th Street towards our next destination. But once we got to 5th, we see that it was all gated off and that there was a parade coming. So we thought we'd stop and watch that. We then walked up 5th, down to 42nd and into Grand Central. There was this couple taking either wedding or engagement photos outside as well, and I can only imagine how stunning they turned out. As soon as I walked in, the first thing that happened was these Gossip Girl flashes. And then I just kept getting so many flashes. For example, Madagascar kept coming to mind as well. There was a group of things that we wanted to do that was all within walking distance of each other. We walked up Park Avenue and turned down 50th. On the corner of 50th and Madison was the Palace Hotel. We then kept walking down to 5th and we turned onto 5th and walked up to 53rd. MOMA was down here. We come back onto 5th and up to Harry Winston. Harry Winston was on the corner of 5th and 55th, but we then turned down 55th Street to see the St. Regis. We come back onto 5th and we kept walking up to Trump Tower. This was a different entrance, but here is the famous courtyard. We then come out of Trump Tower and walked up 5th to the entrance of the park. We walked around to Wollman Rink. We come out of the park here, but we actually had no data, so we just looked for the closest station on a hard copy map, and that ended up being Columbus Circle. So we just walked down here and then we entered into Columbus Circle station. We took the number 1 from Columbus Circle down to 34th Street Penn Station. And obviously we had no plan to go to this station, it just happened that we had no data and it ended up being the closest one, so we entered into here. But I was watching this episode of Modern Family last night, And speaking of data, it reminds me of this travel tip. And as you can see, this comes out on the corner of Macys. We went straight into Macys. And perfect timing because they had early Black Friday deals. So we did a lot of shopping, to say the least. We was sprinting round though because we were so conscious that we didn't want to be late for our taxi back to the airport. And here we are, we're off. This is us grabbing our luggage back from the concierge and getting into our taxi to the airport. This was so sad, honestly, it was so hard to leave. I was not ready at all. And just like that, we're back in the UK. Me again. So I just thought I'd film a little outro as well because I didn't actually film one. I was so knackered on the way back. We had an overnight flight. Luckily, I actually got quite a bit of sleep. I don't know if it was just from walking 25,000 plus steps a day and just being so busy that I was still knackered, because I did get a lot of sleep on the flight back. Funnily enough, there was quite an empty plane, and as soon as the seatbelt sign went off, everyone just like sporadically went across the plane and picked different seats. And there was a gentleman that was sitting next to me and he was laying across a row of 4, and I thought, oh my god, that's so smart, like I'm gonna do that. So I literally was laying like on the row behind him and I just had 4 seats together. So obviously it was like a single bed in a way, so I actually got quite a bit of sleep. I must have slept about, I reckon about 6 hours. So yeah, quite a lot. I slept majority of the flight, but I was still just literally so drained. But obviously it was just a lot. We did so much, as you would have seen in this vlog. Like we literally covered the whole of Manhattan, like the whole of Manhattan from top to bottom, every like neighborhood. And we also did obviously Brooklyn Bridge, Dumbo, like we just literally did so much. So yeah, I was still wiped out for a couple of days when I come back. But yeah, literally we had the best time. Like I wouldn't change anything. We had such a great experience, even down to like the weather. We was obviously walking a lot, so I was a little bit apprehensive about that, but yeah, it was literally didn't rain once. Like we were so blessed with the whole trip from start to finish. Even like when we was there, the people were so friendly, which really threw me for a loop, because obviously the reputation of New York is the absolute complete opposite. Like, it couldn't be further from that. And our experience just didn't align with obviously everything that we've heard. So yeah, it was just such a weird experience. But even down to like when we was walking around and we was like, between me and my mum, we might be talking about, oh, I think it's over that way, or we need to go this way. People would voluntarily ask, like, where are you going? Like, do you need help? Like, people were just so kind in that sense, like really, really helpful. And I don't know if this is just my experience, but when I worked in London, when I first started, I was so young and I didn't know where I was going. I like hadn't been in the city much by myself, and there was times where I was on the phone, like visibly in distress, and not one person asked me where I was going or if I needed help, like literally. And that happened multiple times. I just didn't have that experience. Whereas being there, like I was not in distress, I was not alone, and people were still voluntarily asking, are you okay? Like, do you know where you're going? What are you trying to find? Like, yeah, I just found it to be such a friendly experience. Every single person. People were really polite, all the salespeople were really friendly. I feel like sometimes in the UK, when you ask someone, like a salesperson for something, like to look out the back or have they got this in stock somewhere else, I just feel like they look at you like you're asking the world, or some people will just be like, no, and they won't even go and look out the back, or they're just really unhelpful. And obviously that's just my experience. Comment your experience down below. And don't get me wrong, this is just the city. Like where I live obviously in Essex, which is outside of the city. And when I've been in situations here where I need help, I've had so many people help me. I think I've explained this before on my YouTube, but I've broke down 3 times, and all 3 times it's due to my tyre, and all 3 times a gentleman has come over and changed my tyre for me and helped me. Like, I've been really, really blessed in that sense. Like, I've had a few occasions where I've been stuck and yeah, people have just been really friendly. But in the city, I just didn't have that experience. Like, it was completely different. I just think it's the culture. Like, people are just so, I need to get somewhere, I need to get somewhere. And I just thought New York would be like that. I thought it'd be even worse, but I just didn't feel that. I didn't feel that culture there at all. Even down to small gestures, like people would hold the door open for you. I remember we was exiting one of the subway stations and there was a lady who was, I'm terrible with measurements, so don't judge me. She was a good bit of distance in front of us. We're gonna go with that. And she actually waited and held the door open. And I thought, I've been like this close to someone in London and they still haven't held the door open for me. But she actually waited and held, and I was just really taken back. There was even like on the second day, I was so unwell, which obviously I spoke about in the vlog. I actually had to go back and nap. And I was sitting down, like you could see I was unwell and like it was very clear. And a gentleman actually stopped and was like, are you okay? Like, honestly, so friendly. I can't express this enough. When you watch telly, for example, if you watch Suits, there is a season where they merge with a London firm, and the impression that the show gives you is that British people are so polite and friendly, and that New Yorkers are really direct and horrible. And I don't know, I just didn't have that experience. It just really threw me through a loop. So yeah, comment down below what you think. And like I say, it's just the city that I really felt that in. Like the rest of the UK, I think people are so friendly. But London is just something very, very different. Also, another thing that I think is like a stigma is that New York's really unsafe, which I'm not sitting there saying walk around and not be aware. Like, of course you need to be aware of your surroundings, but I felt a lot safer than I expected to. I didn't feel any more unsafe than I would feel in London, which again, I thought it was going to be worse. Like, I didn't expect that at all. We was even going to avoid the subway because we just was like conscious and worried about that. And literally the first subway station we went in, there was police in the station, like just monitoring things. Like, I think it's really safe, and there's a lot of a lot more resources than there are in London, definitely. And obviously I'm just comparing city for city. But yeah, it was just like, as a whole, a lot safer than we expected. In terms of like homelessness, there was a lot of homeless people. But again, arguably not any more than there would be in London. When I used to walk from Fenchurch Street into St Paul's for work, I would see at least 3 homeless people on that walk. So I would say it was on par with that as well. Wouldn't say it's any worse than it is in London. But what I will say is the spirit is really high there. There was multiple occasions where there was homeless people, obviously with cups, asking for money. And there was one occasion where we was walking into McDonald's, and he was like holding the door open, and he was like, enjoy your McDonald's, and like, ignore my American accent. But yeah, he was like, enjoy your McDonald's, and like just really high spirited, honestly. And I was just really taken back. And then there was another occasion when we was walking into Starbucks, and again, they opened the door for you and was like, I love your smile, and like, they're just really high spirited, like I've not really seen that anywhere. I've not really come across that anywhere. Another thing I would just add and want to say is definitely get the tube. I could not believe how easy it was for one and how cheap it is for two. Like, again, obviously I'm just comparing to London because it's the best reference for me. But if I go into London, let's say I get a London travel card, it's like £25 minimum. I went all the way from Times Square to Brooklyn for £2. Like, no matter where you go on the subway, it's £2. And I just couldn't wrap my head around that. Because obviously in London, you've got your zones, and like, I used to do 5 stops on the tube and it'd be like £5. And I just think that that's such a crazy comparison. So yeah, I would really, really recommend to get the subway. It's really easy. Like I say, people are friendly and helpful there in the event you do get lost. But obviously on Google Maps, it's so easy. You literally just put in where you're going and it will tell you like what station you need to walk in, and it'll even tell you what entrance to walk in of that station, like the northwest corner or 40th and 6th Street. It will tell you exactly where to walk in. It will tell you what train you need to get, and then you literally just follow the signs in the station. Like, it's really, really simple, and like I say, it's just such an easy way to hop about. Even like in terms of budget, obviously it's way better for your budget, but equally like time as well. Obviously New York traffic is very real, and it is very, very busy there. So if you're like doing what we did where you want to hop about and go everywhere, I definitely recommend Subway because you'll just get so much more done. As you'll see in this video as well, as I was packing my hand luggage right at the beginning, you would have seen me use my travel planner. So basically, I have obviously travelled a lot this year, as you would have seen from my YouTube, and travelling is something that I want to do more of. But I just felt like, in particular this year, every time I was doing a trip, from start to finish, it's the same steps. And I just felt like I was having to use so much conscious thinking to plan it. And also, I would always worry that I forgot something. So I just decided to create a template from start to finish of what you need to do. I think also working in the travel industry, like that obviously really made that apparent to me, to just have like a travel checklist or a travel planner. So I have created a template which I just duplicate and then populate and use every trip that I go on. It does have so much information in, like even my packing list is there, the documents that I need, like everything that I need to do. It's just all templated, so I just don't have to think, which I personally love. And it just gives me that security that I used this on the last trip, everything went right, like there's no way I haven't forgot anything. So I am actually going to be sharing that with you guys soon, because I just feel like obviously there's probably other people that are in a similar position to me that feel that way around traveling. And when you have a template like that, I just think it makes it so easy to do more travel. It makes it more exciting. It takes the stress out of it. So that is something that I'm looking to share with you guys really, really soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But lastly, to wrap up this video, I do want to say thank you so much for watching. I literally appreciate every single view. Like I cannot get that across to you guys enough. Like, I'm so grateful for all of you. And with that being said, I do also want to acknowledge and say thank you to my new subscribers. I see you all and I'm so grateful for you all. There will be more content coming soon, and I'll see you guys in the next vlog.